Making headlines tonight. Prime Minister Hun Sen has called on all Cambodians to go to the polls and vote during the upcoming Commune District Council elections. Prime Minister of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam sent greetings and wishes for the Khmer New Year to all Cambodians. US President Joe Biden said for the first time that Russia's invasion of Ukraine amounts to genocide. The Australian state of Victoria will host the 2026 Commonwealth Games. And orphans from the Ukraine celebrated Bar Mitzvah at the Western Wall in Jerusalem. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. My name is Anthony Ellis. The Prime Minister Hun Sen has called on to eligible Cambodians to go to the polls and vote during the upcoming 5th mandate Commune District Council elections in order to exercise their civil rights as the makers of the destiny of the nation. EAC News reporter Dashana Guchen has more.
According to the publication of the National News Agency of Cambodia, AKP, in the Prime Minister's message for the traditional Khmer New Year celebration, he called on all Cambodians who are eligible to vote throughout the kingdom to please go to the polls on Sunday, 5th June 2022 to vote for their new commune district leaders in the upcoming council elections, asking everyone to exercise their rights as citizens and to be makers of the nation's destiny. The 5th mandate Commune District Council elections is set to take place on 5th June 2022, with 17 different political parties having registered their candidates. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
The Socialist Republic of Vietnam ranks number 1 among the Asean countries in terms of direct investments made in Cambodia, with the trade between the two countries exceeding $9 billion in 2021. In a telephone conversation between Prime Minister Hun Sen and the Prime Minister of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, Pham Minh Chinh, on Tuesday, 12th of April, the Vietnamese side sent greetings and wishings for the Khmer New Year to His Majesty the King, Her Majesty the Queen Mother, the President of the Senate, President of the National Assembly, Prime Minister of Cambodia, as well as all Cambodians. Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh also congratulated Cambodia on its achievements over the past 40 years and has pledged to join Kingdom in maintaining in good neighbourly relations and furthering strengthening traditional corporations. During the call, the two Prime Ministers expressed their satisfaction over the good relations between the two countries, which has even withstood the impact of COVID-19 as seen by the high trade volume between Cambodia and Vietnam in 2021. Which reached around $9 billion equals at 80% of trade volume in the same period of 2020 and maintains of the positive growth momentum in the first quarter of 2022. According to the statement from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Socialist Republic of Vietnam continues to rank number 1 among ASEAN countries in terms of direct investment in the Kingdom of Cambodia. Furthermore, the two Prime Ministers also emphasised on the strategic importance of maintaining and consistently strengthening the good traditional neighbourly relations, particularly regarding the comprehensive cooperation on security and development of both countries in the event of context, and especially for the occasions of the 55th anniversary of Cambodia-Vietnam diplomatic relations and the 45th anniversary of the establishment of the Cambodian United Front of National Salvation on 2nd of December 1978. Cambodia and Vietnam established diplomatic relations 55 years ago, starting in 1967 following the liberation of Cambodia from the Khmer Rouge regime. The relationship between the two countries became highly cooperative and mutually supportive, so much that the two governments now consider each other good friends, brothers and neighbours. The Prime Minister of Cambodia Hun Sen and the First Lady Bundani Hun Sen arrived safely at Privy Sihanouk province at 10 a.m. on April the 13th to celebrate the New Year privately and with people around Centreville for about 5 days. PM and his wife stopped at the shrine of Pri Oma Mahaswara roundabout at the intersection of Ream Beach Boulevard and Ream Boulevard for a prayer at the shrine asking to take care of the Kingdom of Cambodia, especially all Cambodians living under the peace, harmony, the lives of the people are more prosperous under His Majesty the King Norodom Sihanouk, King of the Kingdom of Cambodia. At the Pri Oma Mahaswara roundabout, Prime Minister and the First Lady took photos with the unique view of the coast of the Kingdom of Cambodia. The Pri Oma Mahaswara roundabout is now not only the Buddhist shrine, but has become an attractive tourist designation through a construction of many boulevards along the beautiful beaches. After inspecting the roundabout of Priya Umamahasot, Prime Minister and his wife continued to visit the great statue Priya Tong near Nek, which was recently completed construction. The statue of Priya Tong near Nek is in the largest copper statue in the Kingdom of Wonder, weighs a total of 60 tonnes, height 21 metres, resting on a throne height of 6.34 metres, standing tall in the middle of the roundabout of the Priya Tong near Nek with a diameter of 99 metres facing CRM. This statue will be launched on the 16th of April under His High Presidency of Prime Minister Hun Sen and the First Lady Bun Rani Hun Sen. At the roundabout where Priya Tong near Nek, the place where Khmer can do it, was made, PM and his wife took photos with the unique view before proceeding to stay in Sitnaville province. With all the achievements of the royal government in the past are due to the correct political leadership with the strong will. With the support of its members of the legislate, members of the royal government, government officials at all levels, the armed forces of all kinds and the people of citizens all over the country. With the sincere support of development partners and the international community, aim to achieve the long-term aspirations of the Cambodian people who want Cambodia to be a proud nation, a glorious bright future and a strong sovereign state that adheres to the principles of democracy and the rule of law, and has peace, nationality, unity and territorial integrity as well as high prestige on international stage. A press statement from the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has been released on the occasion of the 2022 Khmer New Year. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchin has the story.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has released a press statement wishing Cambodian people a prosperous and healthy new year. He said, "On behalf of the United States of America, I extend my best wishes to the Cambodian people on the occasion of the Khmer New Year." His message continues to remind of Cambodia's rich and vibrant culture, and he says that he is honored to continue building the strong cultural connections between the United States and the Kingdom of Cambodia, while looking forward to further advancing this relationship to build a more prosperous, democratic, and independent Cambodia. Cambodia-U.S. relations began in 1950, at a time when the world was in the throes of the Cold War. Between 2018 and 2021, the U.S. provided a total of $338 million in aid to Cambodia, covering different programs in the areas of health, education, governance, economic growth, and the clearance of unexploded ordnance and landmines. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
The Ministry of Social Affairs, Veterans and Youth Rehabilitation will temporarily suspend the cash program established during the COVID-19 pandemic to provide support for the poor and vulnerable families, as well as the cash program for the pregnant women and children under the age of 2 for 6 days during the Khmer New Year between the 13th and the 18th of April 2022. The announcement of the temporary suspension was made by the Ministry of Social Affairs on Tuesday, the 12th of April. The Ministry stated that the suspension over the holidays would not affect beneficiaries and the two programs will continue to be implemented as usual from the 19th of April onwards. The announcement asks the relevant institutions and stakeholders, especially the beneficiaries, to be aware of the temporary suspension and to continue cooperation to ensure that these programs will start running smoothly and successful as planned, in accordance with the policy of the Royal Government of Cambodia to provide assistance to people in need, especially poor and vulnerable families, without leaving anyone behind. The Minister of Health, Mumban Heng, has instructed the National COVID-19 Commission and Ratchamakuri, Mundamakuri, Santeng and Prairie provincial authorities to pay more attention to COVID-19 cases in their respective provinces, as well as be prepared to respond to any outbreaks in a timely manner. This message comes after the announcement of the mask wearing will no longer be mandatory in those provinces. EAC News reporter Darshana Guchin has more details.
In a letter addressed to the chairperson of the COVID-19 Commission at the capital provincial level, the Minister of Health, Mumban Heng, introduced measures to lift the mask mandate in the 4 provinces of Ratnakiri, Mondulkiri, Stung Treng, and Prehvier. He said that from now on, those who live or travel to those 4 provinces will no longer be required to wear masks, with the exception of those who test positive for COVID-19 and those who have been in contact with COVID-19 patients. He, however, stressed that once you leave any of these provinces, the mask-wearing mandate will still be strictly implemented. The minister further ordered the COVID-19 Disease Control Commission and provincial authorities from the 4 provinces to still prepare and be ready with a team of doctors, the necessary medical equipment, and treatment medication for COVID-19, in addition to COVID-19 rapid antigen test kits, in order to be able to respond to a rise in cases in a timely manner in the event that a COVID-19 outbreak were to occur. He also advised people residing in those 4 provinces to quickly go and get tested if they suspect they may have COVID-19 or show any of the common symptoms such as fever, cough, or other respiratory problems, including nasal congestion, runny nose, itchy or sore throat, and more. He asked the health departments of the 4 provincial administrations to keep an updated log of any new COVID-19 cases that have been found since the beginning of the removal of mask-wearing provisions, in order to assess the safety and probability of lifting mask mandates more widely in the country. On 10th April, Prime Minister Hun Sen announced the decision to remove obligatory mask-wearing in the provinces of Ratanakiri, Mondulkiri, Stung Treng, and Previer, to test the resilience of the local community against COVID-19 following the successful implementation of the national vaccination campaign. Darshana Gauchan, EAC News.
Now for a look at the news making international headlines this Wednesday, the 13th of April.
Colombia's National Police on Monday rescued over 1,000 ocelots, snakes, birds, and other animals valued at more than $1 million on the black market. The nationwide operation, supported by the United States Fish and Wildlife Service and local environmental authorities, led to 21 arrests, the police said in a statement. The National Police, in coordination with wildlife authorities of the United States, have achieved the most important operation to safeguard protected species in Colombia, General Jorge Luis Vargas, head of the National Police, said. The 1,004 animals, including turtles, starfish, and tarantulas, are now in the care of environmental authorities. Colombia is one of the world's most biodiverse countries, and police there have rescued 5,994 animals from potential trafficking so far this year.
Dramatic eyewitnesses video captured the moment commuters ran from a smoking metro carriage in New York City in the aftermath of a shooting. A gunman was wearing a gas mask, set off a smoke bomb and opened fire in New York subway car during Tuesday 12th April morning commute, injuring at least 17 people, authorities said, prompting officials to renew calls from steps to combat a surge of violence in the city's transit system. Police said the perpetrator behaved to have to act alone, fled the scene. The act unfolded as a Manhattan-bound subway train on the N line was pulling into the station in Brooklyn's Sunset Park neighborhood, setting off intense manhunt by local and federal law enforcement. 10 people were hit directly by gunfire, including 5 hospitalized in critical but stable condition. Authorities said 7 others were injured by shrapnel or otherwise hurt in the chaos of panic. Riders fled the smoke-filled subway car, some collapsing to the pavement as they poured onto the platform on the 36th Street station. The fire department said 2 of those hurt were treated at the scene, according to CNN. A total of 29 people who suffered various injuries in the incident turned up in the area hospitals, though most of them appeared to have been emergency room walk-ins who were treated and discharged. The suspect was described by police as a man with a heavy build, wearing a green construction-type vest and a hooded sweatshirt. CNN cited internal law enforcement emails said the New York Police Department was searching for a U-Haul van with Arizona license plates in connection with the shooting. Outside the station, in an area known for its thriving Chinatown views of the Statue of Liberty, authorities shut down a dozen or so blocks and cornered off immediately vicinity with crime scene tape. Schools in the neighborhood were placed under security lockdowns.
And Salvadorians were once again able to celebrate the Easter season on Monday with a traditional ceremony in which men dressed as devils whip people after COVID-19 put a pause on it last year. The event is meant to highlight the universal struggle of good versus evil and takes place each year in the town of Texistepec, El Salvador, located some 83 kilometers north of San Salvador. We have tried not to lose this tradition. Today we have the opportunity to return to the streets of Texas Tepec with a reason for joy, and we are entirely motivated after 2 years of absence, the local resident dressed as devil Christian Sanchez told Reuters. Actors called Talcahuines, which means demon man, dress as devils to punish people for their sins by lashing them. Many flocks from different surrounding regions in El Salvador take part in the event and get whipped to repent for sins committed during the year. The Talcahuines and a man dressed as Jesus first attend Mass and offer their performance as a sacrifice. When the Mass ends, the whipping begins on the streets. The annual ceremony takes place before Easter when Catholics and other Christians celebrate Jesus rising from the dead after dying for their sins.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson said on Tuesday, 12th of April, that he accepted the fine by the police for breaking lockdown rules in 2020 and he understood the public anger over the issue, adding that he fell short and the people had the right to expect better. Speaking from the Chequers, the Prime Minister's country estate, Johnson said he had not believed he had breached of the law at any time. I have to say, in all frankness, at the time it did not occur to me that this might have been a breach of the rules. But of course the police have found otherwise and I will fully respect the outcome of their investigation, Johnson told BBC. Early on Tuesday, Johnson's office said in a statement that the Prime Minister and his Finance Minister, Rishi Sunak, would be fined for breaking Britain's strict coronavirus lockdown rules, provoking anger and calls for them both to resign. Police have been investigating 12 gatherings at Johnson's Downing Street office and the Cabinet Office after damning internal inquiry found his staff had enjoyed alcohol-fueled parties that were not permitted. Johnson said he had attended some of the events he held when social mixing was all but banned by laws in his government brought into the curb that spread the COVID-19, but he always denied knowingly committing any wrongdoing. The fine, one of more than 50 police said they would issue as part of their inquiries, related to a gathering to celebrate the Prime Minister's birthday in the Cabinet Room of Downing Street on June 19, 2020. Johnson swept the power in 2019 on a promise to complete Britain's exit from the European Union, but his premiership has suffered a series of controversies and mishaps in the last 6 months. Revelations about the boozy Downing Street parties provoked calls early this year from lawmakers in his own Conservative Party for his resignation, as public trust plummeted over the Partygate affair.
Today, I've received a fixed penalty notice from the Metropolitan Police relating to an event in Downing Street on the 19th of June 2020. And let me say immediately that I've paid the fine and I once again offer a full apology. And in a spirit of openness and humility, I want to be completely clear about what happened on that date. My day began shortly after 7 a.m. and I chaired 8 meetings in number 10, including the Cabinet Committee deciding COVID strategy. I visited a school in Hemel Hempstead, which took me out of Downing Street for over 4 hours. And amongst all these engagements on a day that happened to be my birthday, there was a brief gathering in the Cabinet Room shortly after 2 p.m, lasting for less than 10 minutes, during which people I work with kindly passed on their good wishes. And I have to say, in all frankness, at that time, it did not occur to me that this might have been a breach of the rules. But of course, the police have found otherwise, and I fully respect the outcome of their investigation.
US President Joe Biden said for the first time on Tuesday that Russia's invasion of Ukraine amounts to genocide, a significant escalation of the president's rhetoric.
Biden uses the term genocide in a speech at an ethanol plant in Iowa and later stood by the description as he prepared to board Air Force One.
Yes, I call this genocide because it becomes clearer and clearer that Putin is just trying to wipe out the idea of invading Ukraine. And the evidence is mounting. It's different than it was last week. The more evidence is coming out of literally the horrible thing that the Russians have done in Ukraine. And we're going to only learn more and more about the devastation. And we'll let the lawyers decide internationally whether or not it qualifies. But it sure seems that way to me. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Let's go, guys. We're going to load.
Biden has repeatedly called Russian President Vladimir Putin a war criminal, but Tuesday marked the first time he accused Russia of committing genocide in Ukraine. Your family budget, your ability to fill up your tank, none of it should hinge on whether a dictator declares war and commits genocide half a world away, Biden said at an event in Iowa on fuel prices. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan have both stopped short of describing Russia's assault as genocide in recent days. Based on what we have seen so far, we have seen atrocities, Sullivan told reporters last week. We have seen war crimes. We have not seen a level of systematic deprivation of life of the Ukrainian people to rise to the level of genocide. Shortly after Biden's remarks, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky tweeted, "True words of a true leader, at POTUS, calling things by their names is essential to stand up to evil." Under international law, genocide is intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. According to UN Convention, this includes through killings, serious bodily or mental harm, inflicting lethal conditions, and measures to prevent births, among other means. Biden has made a handful of statements about the war that U.S. officials have later had to walk back. The president stirred controversy on a recent trip to Poland when he ad-libbed a line at the end of a speech and said that Putin should not be allowed to remain in power. The White House clarified that U.S. policy was not to seek regime change.
Ukraine security services on Tuesday, 12th of April, said that they arrested pro-Russian political Viktor Medvedchuk, who is President Vladimir Putin's closest and most influential ally in Ukraine. Ukraine on Tuesday said its arrest of Kremlin's most prominent ally in the countries as Russian President Vladimir Putin gave his strongest signal, yet the war will grind on, warning peace talks were at a dead end. In February, Ukraine said Viktor Medvedchuk, the leader of the opposition platform for Life Party, escaped from house arrest after authorities opened a treason case against him. The pro-Russian figure, who says Putin is the godfather to his daughter, has denied wrongdoing. On Tuesday, a spokesman was not immediately available for comment. Pro-Russian traitors and agents of the Russian intelligence services remember, your crimes have no statute of limitations. Ukraine's security services posted as Facebook alongside a photo of Medvedchuk in handcuffs. Operatives conducted this lightning-fast and dangerous multi-level special operation, the head of the organization, Ivan Bakanov, said. A Kremlin spokesman was cited by the TASS news agency as saying he had seen the photo and could not say whether it was genuine. Hours earlier, Putin used his first public comments on conflict in more than a week to insist Russia will rhythmically and calmly continue the operation, cited the need to achieve goals of security. The blitzkrieg on which our foes are counting did not work, he said, baiting aside the impact of sanctions and warnings that on and off peace talks were in a dead-end situation. But he frequently seemed to ramble and stammer. Only occasionally did he adopt the icy, confident demeanour that he has been his trademark in public appearances over more than 22 years as Russia's leader. Putin, who had been actress on Russian television in early days of the war, had largely retreated from public view since Russia's withdrawal from northern Ukraine 2 weeks ago. After the break, a look at all the latest sports news.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favourite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
The Australian state of Victoria will host the 2026 Commonwealth Games across 4 regional hubs in a break from the traditional single city module, the government said on Tuesday, the 12th of April.
With no other countries outside Australia making a bid, Victoria was granted an exclusive negotiating period to secure the Games in February. Victoria capital Melbourne hosted the 2006 Games and will stage the 2026 opening ceremony at the Melbourne Cricket Ground, but the sports will be spread far and wide. Each of the regional hubs in Geelong, Ballarat, Bendigo and Gippsland will have their own athletes' village. The Quadrennial Games, a multi-sport gathering for mostly former British colonies, has struggled to remain relevant, with 4 of the last 5 editions held in Australia or Britain. English city Birmingham will host the 2022 Commonwealth Games from July 28 to August 8.
As President of the Commonwealth Games Federation, I'm absolutely delighted to announce that the 2026 Commonwealth Games has been awarded to Victoria. Well done.
These will be a Commonwealth Games like no other. We promised that we wouldn't be doing a rerun of 2006, as successful as that was. The opening ceremony will be in Melbourne, and the rest of the program, all the events will be conducted in regional Victoria. All the events, those 16 sports and others that will be added in between now and the end of the year, all of those events will be conducted in regional Victoria. 4 hubs, Ballarat of course, Bendigo, Geelong and Gippsland. There will be sports in each of those 4 hubs. There will be athletes' villages in each of those 4 hubs.
All the events, those 16 sports and others that will be added in, between now and the end of the year, all those events will be conducted in regional Victoria 4 hubs. Ballarat of course, Bendigo, Geelong and Gippsland. There will be sports in each of those 4 hubs. There will be athletes' villages in each of those 4 hubs.
Novak Dokovic said he felt drained of energy towards the end of the loss of Algeria Davidovic Fokine in the second round of Monte Carlo Masters on Tuesday 12th of April, admitting that defeat was almost inevitable going into the final set. Playing in his 4th match of the season after he was denied a chance to defend his Australian Open title in January due to being unvaccinated against COVID-19, Dokovic was broken 9 times and made 51 unforced errors in a 6-3, 6-7, 6-1 defeated by the Spaniard. I'm disappointed. No one likes to lose. We're professional athletes. This is what we do. We go out to the court and compete and try to win against each other. Dokovic, who has triumphed in Monaco twice, told reporters, I didn't like the way I felt physically in the 3rd set. I just ran out of gas completely. Just couldn't really stay in the rally with him. If you can't stay in the rally, not feeling your legs on the clay, it's mission's impossible. So I don't like the feeling I experienced in the 3rd set, but I'm going to look with my team into reasons why that was the case and go back to the drawing board, and hopefully next week will be better in Belgrade. Dokovic said he hoped to build his form from the French Open starting next month, where he'll defend his crown. That's a big goal of the clay season, Dokovic said. I knew a few days ago when I spoke to you that I'm going to take time for me to really feel my best on the clay. That's historically always been the case. Never played very well in the opening tournament on the clay season, but it's okay. I have accepted defeat and keep working. Polo is no longer a sport for men, and our women's polo is growing by leaps and bounds in Argentina, where the first World Championship is being played and the Women's Open has existed since 2017. Argentina, a country with large extensions of fields and traditionally closeness to the horse dating back to the time of the gauchos, is currently a major exporter of polo horses and has undisputed leadership in the men's sport, originally imported from England. But women have not been left behind. Currently, 3 of the best polo players in the world are Argentine. The polo schools do not stop growing, and there are more exclusive female tournaments to compete in. The growth of women's polo in recent years has been impressive, according to the statistics of Polo Association. It is growing a lot every year, more women's polo than men's, said Claire Casino, a 2-time champion of the Women's Open with a team made up of 2 Argentinians and 2 English. As Casino, 26, explained, the growth was encouraged by the establishment of women's handicap, a system that allows teams to be evenly matched when using players' varying abilities, and the creation of Women's Polo Open in 2017. This has attracted the best players in the world and inspired other countries to replicate the Argentinian polo model. On Saturday, 9th of April, the first Women's Polo World Cup in history began in Buenos Aires City with national teams from Brazil, United States, England, Italy and Ireland. Giving this opportunity for women to compete at the same level as men currently compete in has a global impact and is also a message for the world, said Defran Ulgra, the president of Argentine Polo Association. Aiming to criminalising and professionalising polo as well as creating job opportunities both in Argentina and abroad, the Argentine Polo Association created a University of Polo 3 years ago. According to Angra, since Argentina is a leader of polo's agenda worldwide, it has the responsibility of taking care of its status and creating trends which will later be replicated globally. Azucena Ugrana, who reached a semi-final for the Women's Polo Open last year and is one of the players on the team representing Argentina in the World Cup Championship, highlighted the enormous opportunity to play in this tournament. It is an incredible opportunity and it gave us a place. I think maybe a few years we'll realise that, said Ugrana. Now let's have a look at the weather and what you can expect for tomorrow. And finally, 4 orphans from the Ukraine city of Zoltomir celebrated the Bar Mitzvah, a Jewish coming-of-age ceremony usually held at the age of 13 at the Western Wall in Jerusalem on Monday, 11th of April. Accompanied by members of the Jewish organisations Jabad, the 13-year-old boys were welcomed into the Western Wall Plaza with live music, singing and dancing. They later prayed alongside the Israeli peers at the ancient wall and placed prayer notes into the cracks. Jabad organised the Bar Mitzvah for orphans the organisation cares for. The Ukrainian orphans, part of the larger group whose ages range from 2 to 12 years old, arrived in Israel on March the 3rd from a war-torn Ukraine after the journey through Romania. The KKL-JNF has taken care of the hosting and well-being in Israel organisation said. The Western Wall is a remnant of a compound of a second temple that was destroyed in 70 AD. It stands today beneath a religious plaza known as Muslims as the Noble Sanctuary and the Jews as Temple Mount. Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup here on EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, check our website eacnews.asia or search EAC News on Telegram, Smart TV or your favourite app store for more EAC News Team tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We'll see you then.